Welcome to the Ripple of Change podcast, searching for our quadruple aim, where we highlight, celebrate, and extol others creating positive change in healthcare and beyond. I am your host, Dr. Otten, and today's topic is cutting the insurance fat. Ooh, I'm excited for this conversation with these two individuals today. And you know what? We're not even going to have a guest co-host. It's going to be all three of us are going to be guest co-hosts and guests, and we're just going to roll with it and see how it goes. First off, I'm going to introduce Carl Schuessler Jr., who leads Mitigate Partners, a consortium of now 27 employee benefit consulting and brokerage firms. And his passion for fixing the problem of runaway healthcare costs in this country and his desire to treat the employer's money as his own has led him through years of research, culminating in the development of his proprietary Fair Cost Health Plan. Welcome to you, Carl. And then I'm also going to shift over to Cristy Gupton, who is the founder and president of Custom Benefit Solutions and one of the 27 firms that make up Mitigate Partners. Like Carl, she also works with employers who are ready to leave insurer-built plans and trade them for custom-designed, employee-built plans. I love that. Not only that, but she contributes to numerous publications and also has a podcast of her own, Healthcare Solutions. So welcome to the both of you. And we're going to diverge right away from my usual order of things. As people are aware, I tend to derail things within the first 5 minutes, so we've already done it. The first question I'm going to throw out there is, I would love to hear the origin of Mitigate Partners.
Well, first off, Dr. Otten, thanks for having us here. I know Cristy and I both love your message and really the emphasis on provider wellness and everything you've done, and we appreciate you being a guest a few weeks ago on our Mitigate Zooms. But Mitigate was founded by myself and a fellow by the name of Barry Murphy, who was my mentor out of college when I began in the life insurance business, and then I mentored him down this cost containment path. And you can ask him; he'll tell you that, or he might lie. He tends to do that. No kidding, but we kind of were out. I was speaking a bunch around the country here and there, and was doing a lot of different things, and I guess had some heightened visibility. And with that, we just kind of said, we mitigate risk. We do, cost containment, risk management, and employee benefit consulting, and that kind of made sense. So we just kind of banded together, and it was an alliance of independent thinkers, and we were able to pull resources together and access different things. We have a chief marketing officer now, and that's really what all the dues go to pay for. So it was just a like-minded group of people that came together, but they're fiercely independent. Cristy don't listen to me, I promise you. I wish she would, but she doesn't. Of course, she wished I'd listen to her too. So, but the good and bad of Mitigate is it's fiercely independent advisors. So everybody stands on their own.
That's fantastic. And Cristy, I would love to maybe hear your thoughts along that thread as well. And good, I got to say, good job, Carl. I warned him about the length of his answers and said I was going to start to play Jeopardy music if he went too long. I'm just kidding. Cristy, we'd love to hear from you as well.
Early in I think 2017, I started learning about different paths that were being paved for advisors who really wanted to do something different. I mean, most brokers who are just selling insurance instead of advising their clients, they have a pretty bad deal, I think. They just have something to sell, and when that product isn't performing the way they told their client it would perform, then they get thrown out with the bathwater. They're the baby in the bathwater, right? So they're tied to like a certain type of product. And when that's not working, they're screwed. And I just didn't want to be in that position anymore. I wanted to be a trusted advisor, someone who thought strategically And I was looking for longitudinal results, and the ability to improve and create better outcomes year over year. And so I wanted to have a rolling 3-year strategy with my clients so that we could tackle low hanging fruit, and then we could also have long range goals. And again, like Carl said, not around health insurance, but around risk management, population health, things that are let's just call it a higher acumen than what most brokers are talking about if they're just selling something. So when I met Carl, I think around 2018, and I invited him to come to my town and speak at a forum, like a town hall type of forum that I was helping host right around the opioid crisis, the earliest, origins of the opioid crisis. And I knew that he knew, and we both knew that the big insurance, big pharma, big PBMs, all the bigs in healthcare were at the core of that problem. And so I wanted to make sure he had a platform to tell everybody in my town about that. So I invited him, and then we've just been close ever since then. And I really appreciate what Mitigate Partners stands for and what we're all doing as a group.
Hey, Dr. Otten, I got a time
no
out.
worries.
Now, much like the presidential debates, and I know we're not going to get political, Cristy got to go for, I was watching about 4 minutes, not quite 4 minutes, 3.5. I only got a minute, but all right, that's fine. Let's move on.
Carl, I'm not gonna lie, I might keep that in there. This is great. This is, part of this show is to laugh, and to have fun. It's so missing in so many places, right? And you go to these meetings and everybody's stuffy and so on and so forth. Goodness gracious, like ultimately we in healthcare, we are making life and death decisions for people, and we're all human beings, and we can't forget that, right? And so as much as you could keep the clock on me too, Carl. This could be part of the fun game of the Ripple Challenge maybe today.
Cristy's the best, and she deserves that floor for sure. I was
Oh,
only
no.
kidding.
This
So
is great.
I love to hear, and she's unlike some of those things on TV that are rather irritating. Cristy's pleasant. It's like music to your ears.
Well, and this is awesome. I love this. This is why I love doing this show, because it just brings out, frankly, the best in people at times, the laughter, the joy, and you can see the passion for both of you in the work that you're doing. And I wanted to double click on what Cristy had said a little bit, and maybe hear from you, Carl, on this one, with the whole broker concept versus advisor concept. And you in your comments, you talked about misaligned incentives, or I might even make the case that some of the incentives in regards to brokers are perversely, well, add the adverb there. Is that an adverb? Anyways, the perversely misaligned, you know what I mean? And they're just not working towards the employer or the patient's best interests when they're doing things. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that a little bit.
Go ahead, Cristy.
I was just going to say those things that you mentioned, those perverse, misaligned incentives, those are insurer built plans. So they're built that way on purpose.
Carl, what are you, tell me what you're thinking. I could see it. For those of you listening, I could tell he's thinking here.
Smoke coming out of his ears.
Yeah, well, we've gone 9 minutes and cartel hadn't been mentioned, so I guess we're doing pretty good today. But there's no question. I mean, misaligned incentives, I think Cristy said it best. That's where we kind of came up with the phrase, kind of an employer-built health plan versus an insurer-built plan. And, the insurer-built plans are passively managed. I mean, you really don't have a role in it whatsoever, and you're at the mercy of the insurance company. Just yesterday, one of my really good friends, who's probably the best cartel broker I know, I will leave his name off, but he's a good fella and really good friends of ours. And, he's telling me about a deal with Cigna and with an independent TPA out of North Carolina, Cristy, the one too, one that somebody, used to work there, used to own it. So I'm probably giving that all away. But anyway, they had a Cigna rental network and a $2 million claim came in. And I'm sorry, I'm going over my minute, but $2 million claim came in. And I'm just real worried about that minute.
Carl, forget about the minute. This is fantastic stuff. Keep going. You got as much time as you need. I am moving up in the edge of my seat because I want to know where this is going. And that always means I'm excited. So you keep rolling, man.
Yeah. All right. I just hope I don't hit my microphone. So $2 million claim comes in, and in the Cigna contract, it said you can't audit the claim. Now, we can get into all the specifics of what you can do, but the bottom line was there were all kinds of errors as they dug into this thing. Cigna called the TPA because, again, they were renting the network, and most of their rental network businesses was Cigna. Cigna sells that rental network service to independent third-party administrators. And with the Cigna rental network, you get their very, very poor utilization management. I can tell you a whole nother story about a school district or what happened there. But the fact of the matter was Cigna called the TPA and says, you pay that claim or we're pulling our rental network contract from you. So you know what the TPA said, Dr. Otten? I mean, they got all their clients in this thing. They can't afford to. So the employer, plan sponsor who has a fiduciary responsibility, which Cristy's an expert in that topic, what are they supposed to do? And my buddies tell me that. I said, blank, I told you, we've talked. He goes, I know you'd appreciate if anybody would. I said, that's the kind of stuff that goes on all the time. So you have to, at the end of the day, these companies didn't get to, sit at the top of the Fortune 500 rankings because they're giving everybody money back. And they sure as heck ain't in the healthcare business. They're in the money-making business.
There is so much to unpack in there. I am debating which question to ask next. But I think one of the things that came out there was the concept of being a good fiduciary. And I know that's important. And Cristy, maybe you want to chime in on that a little bit.
I attribute the word fiduciary to the law ERISA, which stands for the Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974. So fiduciaries, really, though, that goes way back in history. A good lawyer who's taken, a course on the history of law probably can take it all the way back to its origins. And, I don't have that acumen, but under ERISA, the federal government requires employers to give a fiduciary standard of care to both retirement plans and health and welfare plans under that law. Well, for the longest time, we have seen class action breach of fiduciary suits on the retirement side for, I don't know, a decade or more, maybe longer. And it wasn't until recently when the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2021 was passed with all of its transparency rules and other requirements, it actually gave ERISA sort of like new teeth on the health side of ERISA, right? So they were always supposed to be good fiduciaries of employee compensation, employee money, and employee benefits on both sides, retirement and health. But health was getting a pass. Nobody really understood why. And it's through the colleagues of some of us in Mitigate Partners like Cynthia Fisher and Marshall Allen, may he rest in peace, and others, and the Dave Chase and the Health Rosetta, and some of us in Mitigate Partners. It's because of those efforts that the Consolidated Appropriations Act was even brought about and signed in 2021. Since then, we've seen a few important things happen, but has really ramped up this year with employees realizing they have been screwed, essentially. Can I be that forthright in this podcast? I'm sorry for
Oh yeah, that's not
fun.
even close to some of the language I've used on this podcast. You are
Okay.
good to go. I don't forget
Yeah.
I was in the Navy, hence all the stuff behind me. So I've gotten
But,
really good about not swearing in every single podcast.
right. Okay. I mean, this business makes you want to curse. It really does. But this year, we saw one of the first, they're calling it a watershed case. So the day after the Super Bowl, the Lewandowski versus Johnson & Johnson case was filed in a federal court in New Jersey. And it's the plaintiff, Anne Lewandowski, on behalf of herself and others. So it's a whole class of employees that works for Johnson & Johnson and realized that their health plan was squandering badly money.
Mm.
And if employers don't realize it, when you have a health plan where both employer money goes in and employee money goes in, they must actively manage that plan to a fiduciary standard of care. Now, the DOL has described what a fiduciary needs to do. They need to hold the plan assets in trust. One of the hardest ones to get accomplished, like Carl said, was to pay only reasonable claims and do everything in that health plan, make all of the decisions prudently, solely for the sole and exclusive purpose of supporting the plan members. So that's the employees, not Blue Cross, not United or Cigna or Aetna or any of the rest of them. So if the employer wants to be a good fiduciary, they're really going to have to step up to the plate and do things differently. So we aim to help them with that.
That's fantastic. I might shift gears a little bit because I'd like to maybe hear from Carl a little bit regarding the development of the plan when people reach out to you and in your process a little bit. If I can get in your mind a little bit, because you and I have talked about that, and frankly, I love your approach. I think it's fantastic. And don't worry about the clock. We are good to go here. I'm gonna have to change the title, like, to disregard the clock. But I'd love to hear your approach because I think people would appreciate, I don't know if pragmatic's the right word, but it's just logical and it's collegial and it makes sense. So please take it from there if you would.
Okay. Well, thank you for the compliment. I don't get many of those at home, so it's nice to hear. So very, very much thank you. But I can't take a lot of credit. There's a lot of folks involved. But and also to go back to your prior question, since I was on the clock and I didn't have time. Going back to that, I wanted to say, and our friend, one of our fellow Mitigate partners out in Austin, Texas, always says, Rich Haney, a broker makes you broker. And when you were going on consultant and advisor, that was the whole point of that. And I had a prospect come back and said, well, since a broker makes you broker, what are you going to charge us? So it was pretty funny. He threw it right back in my face later. But anyway, which was no problem. We're all very transparent. What for the journey of building an employer build plan, and for mine particularly that I did, and it was really spurned because Dr. Otten, we couldn't. I mean, it's unbelievable what you were seeing out there in the marketplace with the insurance companies with their insurer build plans, and obviously working with, Blue, United, Cigna, and pick your poison. They're all passively managed plans. And so I knew with what I was trying to accomplish for clients, trying to be the best fiduciary and steward of their money, treating it like it was ours, that wasn't going to work as we unpacked and found the 6 deficiencies of legacy healthcare insurance or health insurance. And basically that led us to, talking to independent third-party administrators who weren't connected with the BUCAs, as we call them. And from that process, it was like this. The calls went like this, and trust me, getting in that world of independent TPAs, no offense to any of you folks out there, but all TPAs suck is find the least sucky of the suckiest. And I think we're still on that journey. Cristy and I are trying to find it. I mean, it's like, it's a race to the bottom. The bar is so low, a snake can crawl under it, But I mean, there's some out there doing good work for sure. So I want to give kudos where they are. But what I will tell you is I called these TPAs and I'm going to make this short. I called them and I said, hey, I'm having a party. And so I've got the band locked down. I got the booze. I got the catering. I got the valet parking, but I need someone to host my party. Will you host it? And they would say, well, Carl, you can't serve, Sierra Nevada, you have to serve Bud Light. I said, well, we ain't doing no Bud Light. I can promise you that. But anyway, that's what they did. And we don't need so did something happen with Bud Light, I think. Anyway, the point was we weren't able, they were telling me what I could do. And I said, no, we're not doing that. This is what I'm doing. And when I'd meet them, I'd said, listen, if I'm struggling here. If Ted Cruz is on the right and Bernie Sanders is on the left, they haven't even invented my party. I'm so far out there. I'm going to warn you before we get started today. And so basically through that journey, I've met some TPAs that said, for us, Dr. Otten, when you bring in your components to cost containment and risk mitigation, they have some they use as well. And many of them get paid a component or a percentage or something of that solution. And I said, I got better solutions. I want to bring my party to you. Will you administer my party? And there was a few that said, sure. And the great part about that was anything that we put in, whether it's a cancer solution or a chronic kidney solution or a nurse navigation, the charge the client got was the charge they gave. It was not run through the TPA. And that's how we built it. So we couldn't get what we wanted. So honestly, wasn't trying to do anything. I didn't want to do all that, but we didn't have any choice. And now you see a lot of people doing it. And you see all these concocted level funded plans. And I'm telling you, we did this. It had its inaugural launch July 1, 2016. That's when it started. And it's had some very blessed results, and it's been in force for a long time now. So it's not new. It's going on its 9th year.
This is fantastic. And I think it's these efforts that are really, where we challenge the status quo or the legacy things. If you talked about, I'm intrigued about the 6 different, I think it was what?
I can call them out.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
All right, be quick. This is fast, so I'm not going to explain them all, but as we were looking at this, and it was Barry Murphy and myself initially, we were looking at these these health insurance plans, and we identified in the 6 deficiencies that we tried to solve with fair cost and employer built plans. Cristy, everybody's doing it. However they do it, they're trying to solve it. Was this deficiency number 1 is basically embedded conflicts of interest, i.e. misaligned incentives, i.e. the cartel. Number 2 would be the lack of cost and quality transparency. Number 3 was the traditional PPO discount game. Number 4 was the fraud, waste, and abuse medical billing errors that 99% of all hospital bills generated are wrong. That's a fact, Jack. And if you want to have dinner and lunch and breakfast with me, I can go into more detail. And then the next one was the pharmaceutical shell game, and you remember that those pictures of people, like you go to a Braves game at Truist Park, they move the shells all around, and you try to figure out where it is. That's pharmaceutical shell game. And then lastly was the lack of information and data. It's hard to manage that which you can't measure. And if healthcare represents number 2 or benefits represent 2 or 3 on your P&L, your profit and loss statement, and you can't get any data, how the heck can you manage it? So that was a 6. And what we did is we turned those 6 deficiencies into the 6 opportunities in healthcare. And we've given that talk a bunch of times and get real bored. Are you having trouble sleeping? Don't use melatonin. Just go watch a couple of those videos. You'll fall asleep in about 1 second. But anyway.
That, for the audience, there is so much going on to unpack there. I encourage you to follow up with the show and or production, and I'm betting we can get some links to it. Maybe Summit will put them to sleep, but I'm guessing those that are digging into that really are going to get a lot of value out of it. Cristy,
There's a good one in Owensboro, Kentucky, at a Chamber of Commerce, I think. And I looked out the audit. You could see, I think it was the oh my gosh, what river was Ohio River coming in the background. Beautiful venue, and I took a picture and. Cristy Murphy, I sent it to Murphy, and this was October of 20, and I got COVID on that trip. I was one of the first. I mean, not everybody had COVID. It was new then, and I ended up getting COVID that coming back. But I took a picture and out there, and this is unrelated, but it's funny. He goes, "Where are you at a Joe Biden rally?" I mean, everybody was spread out 50 feet apart. I know you scratched that. Hey, I'm a libertarian, just for the record.
Oh, this is so good. The laughter is just fantastic. Cristy, but you looked like you had something on the tip of your tongue as Carl was talking there. So I'd love to give you an opportunity. And then maybe after you chime in, we'll shift gears a little bit and go to a Ripple Challenge question, because I've been really dying to do this one today.
Well, I want the physicians, especially who listen to your podcast, to understand that nothing good can come from a patient encounter with a doctor who is stressed out, underpaid, treated like a slave, and can't get their head above water with all of the the cartel documentation that they want. So the only way a doctor can be able to practice the way they want to practice is through health plans like the Fair Cost Health Plan. The plan I designed is called Sunlight Health. There's just no way in fee for service that doctors can be good doctors. I'm sorry. I know that's a very bold and statement. Is probably going to win me some enemies. But in fee for service, that's what Carl described as one of the deficiencies, right? The PPO discount game. I want to call it money laundering. And how can doctors be associated with that and actually practice medicine the way they were trained to, the way good and well down in their heart they want to practice? So I love the theme of your show because it's all about the quadruple aim. And really, when we don't assert what our knowledge and build plans based on achieving the quadruple aim, then what's this all for?
There was probably 6 mic drop moments in that, Cristy. So thank you. That is fantastic.
What about me?
Well, I don't know. Maybe there was 3 in yours, Carl. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I'm teasing you. I'm totally teasing you. No, this is great.
Carl's not competitive, is he?
No, this is fantastic. I think the audience is going to get a ton from this. And really that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to educate people about difficult topics, get the word out there about doing different things in healthcare. Frankly, I'll go to I don't always do this, but actually this is how the book Ripple of Change is how Carl and I connected. I wrote about Mitigate Partners because I thought some of the work that they were doing was absolutely brilliant. And at the time I didn't know Carl at all. I just thought the work was genius. And so I wrote about it. And then fast forward however many months, here we are talking about it. But on the back,
shouldn't use that word genius. He's going to repeat that for the next 6 months.
Cristy, don't worry, we can edit this all out and massage the adjective down a little bit. I'm just kidding. But on the back, I say, I envision Ripple of Change following my version of the Pareto principle. If I draw blood from 20% of people by ripping the Band-Aid off, the other 80% can start to heal. And the percentage probably isn't that high, but I'm fully aware that as we go through these conversations and topics, there are people that are going to be pissed about what we're talking about. And that's just the reality of the situation. But I think the vast majority of people in this country, if they truly knew what was going on, would be totally on board with what we're talking about, without a doubt. So I'll leave it at that. I think we'll do a Ripple Challenge question. And I'm gonna go to probably Carl first on this one, and then we'll go to you, Cristy. And after that, we'll have you both give one additional thought that you'd like to impart to the audience. And with that, please, any plugs, websites where people can reach out to you, etc. All right. There's no rules to the Ripple a Challenge question. You can answer however you like. Carl, are you ready?
I was born ready, pal.
Fair
Giddy
enough.
up.
What is your favorite non-SEC football team?
Oh man, woo! I'm not speechless often, but non-SEC football team.
There's one in the ACC that's really good.
Well, you're thinking, Carl, because I knew this one might catch you off guard a little bit. Everybody knows I'm a big Arsenal supporter, which is actually a soccer team in London. So that gives you the direction you could take with this. Cristy, while Carl is probably debating what adjective to call me at this point, I'd like to hear from you. What is your favorite non-SEC football team?
Oh, well, baby, I am Tar Heel born and Tar Heel bred, and when I die, I'll be Tar Heel dead. So go, Carolina Lina.
I love it. I love it. And Carl, you know what? You can take the fifth here if you need to. It's okay.
No, I will say this. I love college football. Anybody knows that. And I like to watch a lot of teams. It would pain me to say it as a kid. My granddaddy was in the farm implement business, and he would he did that's the work he did. He spent time in Ohio, and he'd always bring me back Buckeyes. Now, I can't stand Ohio State, but at that point in my life as a little kid, I liked Ohio State. And then there was Art Schlichter and the whole gambling thing that happened and all that. But, at that time, but other than that, and obviously I don't care for them at all now, especially their head coach. I don't know. Kirby Smart, I remember when they asked Kirby Smart, did you ever, when he went to Georgia to play football, and now he's the coach, as you know, he said, he was down in Bainbridge, Georgia, not far from the Georgia-Florida line. And they said, Curry, did you ever think about going to Florida, to school? And he went, no. So my answer, and then zero is what he says a lot. So I don't know that I have a favorite. I mean, that I pull for, honestly. I love it all. I don't pull against them, but I like all of them. I don't mind the Tar Heels. I don't mind a lot of those. I'm just not really sure they play football. But
do you have a favorite SEC football team?
Well, that's a difficult question. And I forgot to wear my G pin today. The dog, Georgia Bulldogs. Go Dogs.
This is great. Perfect answer too. I love the story of your grandfather. That's so cool. All right. Well, I'd love to hear from both of you. A final thought for the audience and how everyone can get a hold of you. Cristy, if you want to go first, and then we'll go to you, Carl, and then we'll wrap it up.
Sure. I think, just the final thought would be, look, if you're an employer, you have choices and you can vote with your dollars, right? You can vote for the bigs and put your dollars with the bigs. Personally, I think that's the wrong fiduciary choice, and I can prove it. But if you want to be a good fiduciary, you want your employees to have the best access to the best care at the best price and have solid outcomes and reduce and stabilize your costs on what is likely your second biggest expense on the expense side of your balance sheet, then you can vote with your dollars and choose a plan that's not one of the bigs. And we can help design it for you, custom design it for exactly what your workforce wants. So I think that's my final thought.
Well, and how can people find you and get a hold of you? And this information will be in the show notes as well, but please impart that information as well.
Yeah, sure. My firm's website is at custombenefits.work. But I'm on the mitigatepartners.com website too, and I can be found there as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And Carl, the floor is yours, my friend.
All right, I'm going to try to unpack this in a minute. 34:29. All right. I just basically say ditto Cristy. And thank you for your time today. No, what she said is excellent. I would say that to the employers, that you've heard things from your brokers who continue to make you broker for 9,000 years. And what we're doing is, Chris used to say, all it takes is a good advisor and a courageous employer. All it takes is a good advisor and a little courage, as she would say. There's really no courage needed. We have tons of examples of companies that have already done this. Some are 9,000 employees. So people go, how big is too big to do this? I don't think there is. And it's a journey. Crawl, walk, run, fly. It's a journey. And we are here to meet you where you are, but you don't have to keep sending all your money to Wall Street. You can get it back to Main Street. And most of the businesses and most of the employers out there, the smaller ones at least, they work in a community and they want the community to support them. But yet they're sending all their money to Wall Street. How about supporting your community? How about supporting your community pharmacists? How about keeping all the money local that you can do when you do an employer-built plan is built for you? It's health insurance your way and on your terms, no one else's. And I think that's the biggest difference. And it's not that hard to do. It has a struggle. It's a challenge initially. It's bumpy, but it works. And we have a gazillion examples if you go to our website and look at it.
And just to be clear, how can everybody get a hold of you, Carl?
I really don't like people, so I don't want anyone to call me. But it's you can find me at www.mitigatepartners.com, and I know you'll have in the show notes all our emails, Twitters, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. We have all that stuff with Mitigate as well. And then Cristy is all over the social media. She's a tremendous writer. You can get her in all her social media outlets as well. So, but that's the best way. And by the way, the old way, if you can pick up that Alexander Graham Bell phone, 404-277-7852. I know people forgot how to use that, but it still works.
Outstanding. This has been so much fun. I think we might have set a record for laughs in the show, which I think is outstanding. As always, I'm going to leave the audience with, what positive ripple of change will you create today?
Grab your copy today. Ripple of Change is available in hard, soft, and ebook formats. More information at www.ourquadrupleaim.com. Thanks for listening, and let's turn ripples into waves of lasting change. Stay tuned to this podcast as we search for examples of our quadruple aim.